Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be reunited with Gianfranco with his fantastic film, Sabore. Let's take a look at the clip. Franco, I love the return of you. It's great. You always bring such a wonderful energy, and we love having you part of New Filmmakers LA family. But for those that have not yet had the splendor of seeing your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, so Tony, she's a struggling actor. She finally gets her big break on the set of like this Tex-Mex commercial, and starts realizing, you know, the really sinister backhand of the industry that's pigeonholing her. And then it just kind of spirals into this Twilight Zone, Lynchian kind of film. And my favorite thing is the log line on, well, I can't put it because people just don't get it, but I used to write this log line this way where it would just say, can she get out? Can she get out? Can she get out? Can she get out? And I used to write it like that because you feel like you're in this spiral, and just that repetition. But for the sake of many of the people that read synopses and log lines, I just left it to one. Can she get out? But there should be like 8. You know what I mean?
I know you're afraid to Lynchy and stuff, but I love the Gianfranco style. I always love your style of films, the way you orchestrate, the way you just build this energy, the production design. Everything is just so crisp and wonderful. But this is a painful reality, it's, put in with a kind of dark comedic sense. Where did the inspiration come for you in turning this into a story and into a movie?
I think for me it started with our star, who had this kind of her own vision, and as we were writing it, I couldn't get around like certain elements of that first initial idea, because we were talking about this truth, and it was the actor's truth, right? So Kelsey, who plays Tony, was like, this is what happens. I go out and I play these roles, and they all were a little, to quote her, a little kitschy, and that was a misquote. She never said the word. She never said kitschy.
Kitschy's a good word. You can say kitschy though. Yeah. To summarize. To summarize.
She would call it kind of kitschy, and I thought, okay, well now we can kind of play in this space, because I get that feeling too. I write a script, and if it has Latino characters, and it almost starts to create this little box for me where I'm a Latino filmmaker, or if it's black characters, and all of a sudden I'm like a black filmmaker. And I don't know if we talked about this last time, but it really gets down to the nitty gritty. I'm talking to y'all, film festivals.
Yes.
But sometimes you'll make Jerome, for example. All of the black film festivals were like, we love this, and I would submit it to the Latino film festivals, and not a one took it. And I'm like, what's the deal? I'm Latino. Take the film.
Yeah.
But it didn't play with what the messaging was, right? Which is very Latino centric. The same with Sabor. I'd submitted it everywhere across the board, and all of the Latino film festivals are like, Sabor! They're all crazy. But any of the ones that were really black centric wouldn't take the film. Or if they were very heavily centric somewhere else, they wouldn't take it. So I think a lot of times and I don't think this is a full-on truth, but I think sometimes they will have you believe, the magic that you have to pick, and it's not true. You don't have to pick. You can tell whatever story you like, and this was just my allegory for that.
I'm so glad you brought that up because it's a really important point for other film festivals to recognize, even for us to have our own accountability as well.
No, but you guys do a great job, though.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but I think it's a very interesting point because you are who you are, which makes you beautiful, and you are many things, and I think we sometimes get too close to pigeonhole and boxing, and then in this case with Tony in the character, I mean, this is unfortunately not far from the truth of what has certainly happened throughout history of cinema and commercials and advertising, all these kind of things, and it's still happening today as well. Right. And people are still having these experiences. I thought the way that you played out the film around this character, it was almost done as a farce, but it was that painful truth comedy that you did as well, because there was a lot of truth to it. What was it like? I mean, this is very different from Jerome. What was it like directing this film? Like, you had a tremendous group of ensemble actors. Like, what was this particular experience like? And how do you go about that you wanted to kind of, for it to be the way it was designed as well? It was a great production design, as always, of your films.
Thank you. I mean, we had an amazing production designer, number one. So I say, like, before I can answer anything, it's like the crew that you bring on. And Sawod was really beautiful in that it was like hand-selected people. We shot in Utah, which Utah is known for the snow. Yeah. And it's a very white space. And I loved it. I have family that lives there, and it's a very beautiful place for family and for growing with your family. But it's really hard for diversity in making films. Yeah. And there's so much there on a landscape level that you're like, these incredible films go to shoot there. Incredible films, like 9 Days, went and shot there. And I'd look at the crew list, and it was like there was this vacancy, right? Of course, there was like some level of diversity, but that level of diversity was, like there was a cap. There was a cap on it. And the thing that I'm proudest of on Sawod was to develop everything that you could see on screen. It started on what that crew looked like. And so when we went out, it was like this promise to do like 80% BIPOC and 50%, female crew, which it's almost like unimaginable. Like you can't really do that, but you can. Yeah, and you can. I will say there were a lot of people that maybe had lesser experience than others that were on the set, but then all of a sudden, the film behind the scenes started to be like this rigmarole of like mentorship. So there were all of these people from key PAs, who we had our key PA in the audience last night. We had from our key PAs all the way up to like the gaffer, these people that were learning the ropes, that were diverse and couldn't get those opportunities, and they started on Sawod.
Well, listen, again, I think it's really amazing that you're bringing people's first experiences, because until someone takes a chance on them, and the very talented people as well in the works and the making, who knows what they're going to go on to do next from just giving that confidence and someone believing in them. That must have felt very special for you too.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it was the biggest crew for like a tiny short, we had like, again, it was like a shuffle of people, but it was like 80 something people,
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. And Jerome, for example, was like, I want to say 35 to 40 on the crew. So we doubled that in order to kind of fulfill this thing of like, we have to have 80% like BIPOC. And I think we were like just shy of it. It was like 79, but it was for sure like 50 on like the anyway, whatever. It was, but that was amazing though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, listen, there's a lot of components to this, everything from just the set and all of the scene setups as well. Like I was like, this is a complex short film. What was your biggest challenge in this particular project?
I think it was designing the control room. The control room is this like big red space, and it had to feel kind of like a void to kind of build this, almost mechanical infrastructure that is like this ghost of a machine that should be clear to us, but sometimes isn't. And I think in addition to that, we didn't want it to be like, which I think I see a lot of times today, is like white people are like the villains when you have a story like this, for many reasons that I think can be like easily validated. And while I think there are antagonists in this film that run this industry and they're like these shadow figures, they were like machines. And that, I think that was really important, but really hard to kind of find the way to do it.
Yeah.
Down to, again, designing the space and going like, what is this control room?
Yeah.
What does it look like? And again, my collaborators like Roberto Sanchez. Yeah, the guy is brilliant. Comes in, plays it, on one end, he's playing it this kind of like mentor-y role, it's flamboyant, it's fun, and then on the other, he plays this really sinister dark, and again, from a Cuban side, and really tells us as an audience, sometimes we're the ones that are participating in like what button's being pushed. Because it's not, they make a show or a film or whatever where, characters are, and this was often like what we talk about behind the scenes, right, in development, drug dealers and, like tacos and taco stands and, like this is almost like the stereotypical and also prototypical Latino, whatever figure in television, in film. And to break that, we kind of have to go, the reason they feed us this is because we tap into it. And we have to be the ones, we have to be the ones that go, no, we want to do something like Miles Morales, for example, in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which at no point are we like, yes, these characters are whatever, Puerto Rican, black, but do they feed us anything that like has to be in this realm of Puerto Rican and black? Not really, because it's a Spider-Man story. And the race part and the ethnicity part, they play large in, I think, his identity, right? That's huge. That should always play a part in identity, but it needs to be second to story. And I think with Sabor, even though we were a little more on the nose with it, that was the spirit.
Yeah, no, well, I think it's an important nose to be on. I mean, it's just been centuries of just, ignorance and lack of change in many industries, including the one that we work in. And, you always tap on the stories and the characters so well. Like, I mean, we fell for these characters. We fell for Tony and her perspective and her experience. And, what did you, again, I always love to reflect this question, but like, given this is a film about creating this particular commercial and this, that she experienced, what did you want your audience to take from it? And kind of what did you want your industry that you work in, that we work in, to sort of like, remind us of the process and what still, sadly, does exist today?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of that was, wake up. And and I don't really want to step too far into the wake up space and what that means, but, I look at a film like Sabor and I know that it could have played in so many places after going there and seeing what they're playing. But it didn't, and I often wonder why. And by the way, I know film festivals are hard, so you're grateful anytime you get into any of them.
Yeah.
But I think that where it's played and why it's played there is in large part why I made the film in the first place, because there's a lacking of awareness when it comes to how to cast people of color in a lot of these things, and when we're casting them, what are they being cast in? Which little by little, it's becoming a better kind of place, workspace for Latinos and BIPOC and AAPI, like all of these communities, LGBTQIA, like all of these communities are finally finding a space where not all of the stories are tropey, are the same.
Well, let's talk about Gianfranco, because you're very well loved in the film festival, and everyone that ever meets you just gets this beautiful energy and vibrancy that you give to people. And people have a lot of really lovely things to say about you. For everyone that I've known that's ever met you, and that's a credit to you as a human being, aside from being a talented filmmaker, just being that as a human being as well. And so I just want to know for you, what is your drive? What is your drive as an artist, as a human being that just gives you that energy, gives you that vibrancy to just, you know, make sure that you're not only you taking care of you, but you're also taking care of everybody around you as well in terms of, you know, being a creative artist?
You know, talking about all these things, and first, thank you, Danny. I love that. And every time I'm here with Danny, it's like a special experience. So thank you, Danny. But like, I think so much of that is like my own culture, and it just bleeds into like who I am. You know, at no point do I want to be known as like the Dominican filmmaker, because then I'm making only Dominican films. In fact, I've yet to make. I'm just barely. I just made my first film that stars like Dominican characters, and that is about a Dominican family. But I've never done that before, and you know, pointedly, I've chosen to make films about the world because I love the world, because I love the people that inhabit it, because there's so many colors and flavors and cultures and communities that teach me more about who I am and who I should be. And we just can't get that from telling only the stories that we know. Absolutely. We have to be daring enough to tell the stories that we don't.
Well, I love that you, you know, are embracing some amazing Dominican characters into your next story. That is very exciting. Is that what's coming next? That what's coming next?
It is. It is.
Yeah. So what's going on? Tell us. What's happening?
Well, I'm like finally wrapping up on today. I was doing the music with this incredible composer. His name's Alain.
And interviews as well. That was.
I know it's been a busy day.
Okay.
But Alain Emile, I'm just telling you, this man is like a firecracker of a composer.
Wow.
And we were sitting down and we were looking at my next film, When Big People Lie. Look for it. But When Big People Lie is almost done, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to tell a story that I feel is maybe the most personal film I've made to date. It's very much like from the perspective of like my life and what maybe what I experienced as a child, and seeing a lot of the people around me, and how they survive. And so anyway, that's like my next thing that I'm so excited about.
Ready for it.
When Big People Lie.
Thank you very much. Well, we are ready for this. We're thanking you for every film you bring to us at New Filmmakers, but thank you for your aura and your attention to detail and so many layers and facets to entertainment and to what you're trying to put out there to the world. So really appreciate it, Franco. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Danny DeLillo, everybody.
I'm gonna blush. I can't. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
man.